Hello everyone, my name is AP the Weird One, and we are back with episode 3 of The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World. This episode, we get the introduction of two new characters, Teltenna, Liz Wargreat Avalost, the third princess of the Avalost Kingdom, and her lovely knight, Logi Mist, an infamous hero who's fought many high-value targets, and his weapon comes from a demon king that got sealed away. He's an interesting choice. He's got the brotherly complex for Teltenna, but he's not actually your brother, so that's the good side. He's just being very overprotective. Anyway, we start off this episode with Hydra and Red coming back to town, back to their house, and it's like we're done our adventuring for now, and because he's such a wild bunch, he doesn't make much money, he's going to stay here, and it's for good purposes. But of course, the butler Poseidon is he's worried about her. He sees her as granddaughter, although he calls her figure very voluptuous, very sexy. Doesn't think a grandfather would say that about her granddaughter. And in the process of because Red's going to stay here, he decides he's going to he wants to castrate him with some scissors. The word they use is geld, which is mainly used for animals, not so much for humans, but it still applies. He sees Red as an animal regardless. And then when that shenanigans happens, these two show up. They talk about the evil seed, which Red notices it's the little zit on the forehead. It gives them, the people who are endowed with this item are given privilege magic, which enhances their desires, gives them super good magic, and they reign, and they're usually bought by the nobility. The nobility uses them, so only the rich, powerful can use, which leads to believe that the Shala, the main mage who has taken over Hydra's father's place, he's the royal magician. He's most likely the one who's given to them. So that their mission is to collect these seeds, collect them, analyze them, and then, of course, figure out the root of the problem. Of course, Logi, he's okay with Hydra, because Hydra is a respectable name. But this Red Ranger, he doesn't like him. He's like, no way can I trust you to be in the hands, although he's just very jealous. He wants to be around the princess. He doesn't want him to come along. He says, like, the smart thing, but then in reality, he's like, no, the princess calls him out. It's like, no, tell me how you really feel. I'm like, I just don't like this guy, and I want to be with you. I just want to have you to myself. And in order to prove the worthiness, they go out and have a big fight. The fight from the manga is slightly different in that Red uses his dual-wielding sword to battled Logi and his amazing weapon. They're both about equal match. Logi isn't really impressed by him. In fact, he's not even fazed by the transformation. He calls him a jester and calls his gigantic mecha after he summons his super sword. He comments like, "Oh, those are just giant golems, whatever." And yeah, it does, like, them combining everything takes him for a bit of a whirlwind. He's a little bit overwhelmed, but he's still gonna fight, especially when he realizes that the princess is inside the mecha. And you're like, oh, this is so cool. And he thinks that she's been kidnapped. Much like in the Void Rivals comic, Logi fights the giant Megazord, and he does hold against it pretty well. Because he's small and light, it's very hard for the Megazord to fight. It's very hard for the Megazord to hit him, which, it does cause a bit of a problem. But Red, he's got this solution. He remembers the Pokemon move Hurricane, and with his giant sword sends our man flying off. Proxima had a similar demise against Springer. Springer kind of blasted him in the air, and then he got impaled by Springer's sword. So there's a bit of an interesting contrast. Maybe Void Rivals took inspiration from the manga. Who knows? But there's a similar victor. Red's got some brains when he wants to. After getting defeated, he's like, "All right, I'll let you join, but I'm not gonna be your friend, whatever." And Red's, it's like, Yeah, I met people like you. Yeah, a very common trope. Also, the reason that he doesn't explain what he is because Yidra's like, no, this would be too much explanation. They kind of shorten out. It's a different approach. Instead of like having this, cutaway, explain everything, it's just like, don't explain. Let's just move on. Your thing's complicated. But lately, once they become the friends, they go to the town. They meet our main villain. He's this guy who he runs a lawless town, and in order to control, he has thorns on the path. He's very controlling, communist dictatorship. He wants this perfect society BS, and of course, it's got to be according to his will, not others. A very stereotypical story. No free will. Yidra comments, if you want the people to be a good inspiration, follow the orders, why don't you show them instead of forcing them down this path? Show through kindness, not through fear. So a basic, simple message. It's pretty much like the manga. The character, Telten asks, like, why aren't you joining in? It's like, joining in, and she's like, and he makes the comment, well, it's better to analyze the opponent weaknesses and figure out something, and, he makes a good scapegoat, whatever, and she's sharp back, what do you really feel like? I want his ass get kicked. Simple as that. A little bit different from the manga, because this goes on to chapter 3 and 4, but the end of this part ends with Red's armor getting loosened and about to get killed. So it's a little bit different from the manga. It's not too much different. There's, of course, a little bit of dialogue change. Nothing that takes away, but a little bit of different rewording. Overall, good episode. I like the commentary. I like Red's approach to dealing with Logi. Logi is a different character. I'm kind of glad he has this brother complex, but he's not related to her. The incest has its place. You don't need this for adventure. Just make him a very overprotective boyfriend who's, he's very inspired by her. He's that kind of person. I suspect we'll get into, maybe what kind of booba he likes. Like, it's like, I don't care what it is. As long as it's Teltena, it doesn't matter to me. He gives off that shtick. Whereas Red's kind of a similar passion, but he hasn't really thought about that. But he's of the similar mindset. They'll grow over their love of, a good person, their character, rather than a woman's looks. But with that, I'll end the episode here. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day. Definitely check out the series, pick up the manga. It's a good read. It looks very beautiful. The anime looks very nice. See you guys next time. Like, comment, subscribe.